Hey there everyone, this is Stacy from Kzoo Keto and we're bringing you something a little different. We are doing a mini series with Thanksgiving sides that you can create on your own for your Thanksgiving. We are doing this in an effort to find some recipes that we want to have again because we are doing two Thanksgivings that we are hosting. We're doing a Friendsgiving and a family Thanksgiving. And of course, you know, since we're keto, we want stuff that we can eat. So are you planning to stay keto throughout the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas? Because that's what we're doing, and that's why we came up with this series for you. We're hoping to be able to help out and provide some additional recipes other than the ubiquitous turkey. We are going to have, in this particular video, we're going to be doing a green bean casserole and a different sort of fathead dough pull apart roll. And then we're going to have 3 more side dish videos, and the very last video is going to have 2 desserts that you can do. If you haven't already seen it, we have already created a dessert chaffle for you in the form of pumpkin spice. So check that out up here. Let's address one little thing first. You're probably hearing a humming noise in the background. We are making, Greg is making steaks tonight, and he's using the, what is this, the sous vide to make those. So that's going to be going in the background, and then we will have the green bean casserole and the rolls with that. So look at that, dinner with sides.
Nate will be so happy.
What do you need for green bean casserole? We're going to use asparagus. No, just kidding. Green beans. We need cream cheese, we need butter, we need almond flour, we need garlic, we need whipped cream, salt, pepper, onion powder, and Parmesan cheese.
Is that whipped cream or heavy whipping cream?
Same thing, heavy whipping cream. So let's start making this with all of this stuff. First of all, though, I would like to say we are deviating slightly from the recipe, which this recipe comes from a website called greenandketo.com. Green like the color. Since some people don't like me picking onions out of my food, I'm changing it, and instead of chopping up the onion, I'm going to go with onion powder because I'm making this one about me. So we're going to use onion powder instead of the onion, and it takes onion powder anyway later on in the recipe, so why not just make it all onion powder? Oh, we're also not doing the mushrooms that the recipe calls for because Greg is outnumbered. Nate and I do not like mushrooms. So as in any recipe that goes in the oven, you know you got to preheat it, so put it at 350. Alright, so the recipe calls for 1 pound of fresh green beans. We don't have fresh, we have frozen on hand, so why go out and buy more when you already have it? We're going to dump these in a pot. And then we're going to add some water so we can de-ice them like a plain. So this is the same thing you're going to do even if you are using fresh green beans, is you're going to cook them until they're tender in a pot of hot boiling water. The recipe says it takes about 8 minutes, so cook them till they're tender, and then you drain them and set them aside. So this never got to boiling, however, like we said, the beans were frozen, so my fingers are frozen, so I'm actually able to put my hands in there pulling out, and you can see that it's all nice and wobbly wiggly. We're going to go ahead and drain it. While we're waiting for that to drain completely, I've got a tablespoon of butter in our cast iron pan. According to the recipe, usually what you do is you cook everything and then transfer it to a separate dish to put it in the oven. If you're familiar with cast iron, you know that cast iron can go in the oven, and it makes it super simple because it's just one dish. I'm not a big fan of using cast iron because I don't want to do the cleanup, so guess who's cleaning this up?
Me.
Not me. So we're going to get this melted, and then we're going to start on the next step. Okay, we got our butter melted. This is where, if you were cooking with the actual onions, this is where you would put your onions in, and you would cook those until they're translucent, and then you would put in a clove of garlic, which we have the already minced garlic, so that comes out to ½ teaspoon. And you put that in, and you're going to cook your garlic until it's fragrant. Garlic is coming out. You can smell it. So we're going to put in 2 ounces of cream cheese. I kind of cut it up to make it a little easier to melt in the pan. We also have ½ cup of the heavy whipping cream. half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of the pink salt, and I did half a teaspoon of the onion powder to replicate the half of onion that would have been cooking before the garlic.
She did a whole teaspoon, guys. Don't let her fool you.
Oh, it was a whole teaspoon. I used a half a teaspoon twice. So we're just going to kind of shake this in. Then you're going to cook this until it comes in, or comes a simmering pot of sauce. The recipe says it takes about 5 minutes. We'll see, but it's supposed to coat the back of a spoon. I mean, it's kind of coating my spatula, so. But anyway, we're gonna get this all nice and simmered up. It's been about 7 minutes, and this is, as you can see, pretty saucy. It actually kind of reminds me of a gravy, just the wrong color.
Yeah.
Like gravy's more brown. So anyway, we're gonna take our beans.
She's never had milk gravy, guys.
Kind of lightly move them around to get them coated. And after this, if you're not using cast iron and you're going to put them in a different baking dish, once you get them all coated, that's when you would put them in the baking dish. And I have turned off the heat on this so that my creamy sauce doesn't burn. The funny thing is, maybe not so funny, I don't know, never had green bean casserole. I was one of those kids that if it looked funny or smelled funny, I wasn't trying it. Yes, you can give your sympathy to my mother because I was a pain in the ass. However, since starting keto, actually since meeting Greg, he has actually gotten me to eat a lot more stuff than I used to. Since starting keto, I've actually eaten a lot more stuff than that, I think. So I'm actually really thankful, talking about Thanksgiving and what we're thankful for. For one, I'm thankful for meeting Greg because he's definitely made my life different in a better way. I can't get too cheesy.
It's different.
You might think there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
For a second point is I'm thankful for keto because it makes me feel better. I've lost 76 pounds in less than 11 months, and I've found a lot of new foods that I actually really like. So after my little monologue, now that we have this all coated, I'm going to take this and put it in the oven for 15 minutes. And while this is baking, not while I'm baking it, while the oven's baking it, I'm going to work on getting everything together for the pull-apart keto rolls. The keto pull-apart rolls are actually Clover pull-apart rolls, come from a website called foodieandthebeauty.com, and they're kind of a fathead dough. Little bit different. They have eggs, of course, and the mozzarella cheese and the Parmesan, almond flour, and the cream cheese, but they also have baking powder and Parmesan cheese in them. What you're going to need to make these is a muffin tin. I went ahead and sprayed it all over the place, as you can see, with avocado oil. We're going to set that aside, and we also need to preheat the oven to 350. So first thing you're going to do, mix up 1 1/3 cups of almond flour. If you don't want to use almond flour, the recipe also says that you can use 1/3 cup of coconut flour. Normally that's what I'd do, but we're just going to do the almond flour. And then you mix that together with 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, and you set it aside. Next up is to take 1 1/2 cups of mozzarella cheese with 2 ounces of cream cheese and melt those together. We're going to throw that in the microwave for 20-second increments until they're nice and melty. Alright, in case you've never made fathead dough, just to let you know, when you do the 20-second increments, you do need to stir every time. So what makes this a little different from normal fathead dough is the almond flour to cheese ratio. You usually use a lot more mozzarella cheese than what this is calling for. We're going to add in the almond flour and baking powder mixture. Kind of get that in here a little bit. This also takes 1 extra egg than usual fathead dough, so we're putting 2 eggs in. I smell cinnamon. Why do I smell cinnamon? Get these eggs going in this. You also want to work a little bit fast when it comes to fathead dough because the cheese will cool down pretty quickly, and it'll make it harder to get everything all incorporated. I think this is going to get to a point where I just need to put it on some parchment paper and knead it. I'm telling you, I smell cinnamon. This is not sticky.
It's not warm enough.
Said it was going to be sticky. Except the almond flour.
Very crumbly.
It is very crumbly, and they said it was going to be sticky. 15 minutes is up. We're going to pull it out. Leave the stove on because you're going to be putting it back in. I'm just going to kind of stir this up a little bit more just to make sure these are all coated. And then you're going to mix together 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, 2 tablespoons of almond flour, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm going to do that real quick here. Then, once that's mixed, you sprinkle it on top. So this is what gives you your crunchy coating instead of any kind of breadcrumbs or anything like that. And you can also choose to use something like, what are they? Pork rinds, crushed up pork rinds. That'll definitely give you a crunchy coating, but we are not big on pork rinds in this house, although we have used them for this purpose. I'm very interested in seeing how this turns out in this recipe. It is good. We're going to put the gloves back on, throw it back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. We'll check it at 10, see what it looks like. So you get it all molded into a ball, slice it into 4, and then slice each 4th into 6. So you roll each section into a ball. I'm having a little bit of a problem getting mine to stay together. Lightly roll them in Parmesan cheese. The recipe says 1/4 cup. I just have it in a little ramekin here. And then you put 3 balls in each muffin tin. We ended up letting this go for probably a total of 20 minutes because the tops weren't exactly crunchy. But it looks pretty crunchy now and it looks really good. So we pulled it out and we're going to enjoy. We're going to deviate a little bit from this recipe too. And we're going to put some butter on the top of these because Greg mentioned that the butter will help them get a little flakier. And in addition to that, it'll keep them from getting super hard and really dry with all the Parmesan cheese that you roll them in. We're going to put the butter on here and then we're going to throw them in the oven for 20 minutes. Alright, while we're waiting on the steaks to finish cooking, I'm going to try a little bit of this green bean casserole. That's a big, okay. I'm just going to shove it all in my mouth. Okay. I like it. Keto green bean casserole, pretty good. Having never had regular green bean casserole.
That's pretty good.
You have had regular green bean casserole.
Mm-hmm.
How's
I'd say
it
it's comparable. I mean, I don't think it's... Basically, your Parmesan cheese is replacing the normal, like, breadcrumbs or whatever you would have on top. So, other than that, it's pretty good. I actually like the cheese better, probably.
So they're done. They didn't puff, unfortunately, so I'm not sure if I didn't do something right. We'll give them a try.
Looks like they connected together, though.
Yeah, they did stay together. They don't look like the picture.
That one didn't stick together. That was a fail.
A piece of it fell off. Okay, so I'm just going to taste one of these pieces that fell off. Tastes like a roll.
I'll be the judge of that.
I know what I did.
What?
I used coconut flour instead of almond flour.
Oh, shitballs. That will totally mess it up. So yeah, that explains why they're super, super dry.
Yep.
So, hey guys, don't do that.
Don't use coconut flour.
Well, you can use coconut flour, just don't
use the same ratio.
Right, right. So, yeah.
Because then you end up with this.
Correct. All right, so coconut rolls. Interesting.
They're good.
They're good. They're very dry.
Probably be better if I made them correctly.
You can definitely taste the coconut, though. It's interesting.
Yeah, you can, and I don't like coconut, but I actually don't mind it.
Mm. It sort of tastes like my mom's turkey, really dry. We'll try this again, guys. We'll add it to one of the other videos. Because I think this is probably could be really good, but it does make sense that it would be extremely dry as a result of adding 4 times as much coconut flour we're supposed to have in there.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. And until next time.
Stay keto.
See ya.
And oh, that's classy. I like that.
I didn't do that right, did I?
Oh.
No. Let's try that again.
It really is evaporating all the liquid in my mouth.